Blockchain's the technology behind cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin. About 6 years ago, it started to break out as people realized that when you could put money on a blockchain, you could also put anything that was data. That gave us smart contracts and ICOs and the entire explosion of this universe.
The blockchain is a global append-only database which is maintained by a series of users who don't necessarily trust each other. So when we talk about a global append-only database, that means it's a distributed database which is maintained by a peer-to-peer network. So in the case of some blockchains, it could be maintained by thousands of users, or what we call nodes. When we say it's append only, that means it's immutable. So you can only write things to this database. So once something is written to the database, so say a transaction is transmitted to the Bitcoin blockchain, it's there forever. It can't be deleted. It can't be amended in the future. And the last part, which is a really special part and the really meaningful part, is it's built with certain economic incentives, which means that those users don't actually need to trust each other. So you can be operating in what we like to consider a malicious environment where there might be bad actors in the system, but that doesn't matter. So you can still, for example, transmit value to people, and you don't have to trust any other participant on the network to know that the Bitcoin that you sent or the Ethereum that you sent will go to that address that you sent it to.
So when we first started, literally only 8-9 months ago, the main application was still cryptocurrencies and finance and digital money. It's very quickly moved well past that. So the main area that we're working on now is supply chains.
What we're seeing in supply chain or trade tech is the ability to track goods throughout a supply chain. So track, for example, agricultural products from the farm all the way to the plate. So that's being able to add those agricultural products, or it could be bottles of wine, it could be pieces of cheese, or whatever it happens to be. So the end consumers know exactly where that cheese or wine or grain came from.
Just in the past few weeks, we've started looking into the implications for resettlement of refugees. And this is an area where initially we saw that there was, we can do blockchain identity solutions. Then we realized that there are issues around labour credentialing and implications for resettlement and then taxation treatment and so on. And this was just an incredibly important, huge public policy issue that once you sort of start to see things through this lens of this technology and its possibilities, there are a lot of opportunities for fundamental new research questions.
People being able to manage and track their identities is one use case which we have a lot of interest in. So for example, being able to track your university credentials without having to physically give across your physical Bachelor's of Arts degree. What we see also blockchain as enabling students to achieve and then to actually show to future employers is what we call micro-credentials. So rather than just recording an individual subject or a course, perhaps a major and perhaps a bachelor's degree or an entire degree, we actually see the ability for students to break up those subjects into very defined learning outcomes which they can then write to the blockchain or use the blockchain to record those and then actually show future employers. So due to the changing nature of work and the changing global workforce that we see employers actually wanting to see exactly what students have done at university and allowing students to write those micro-credentials to the blockchain and then being able to show those future employers. We see a lot of value in that as well.